The opinions expressed in this podcast are individual and are not necessarily representative of Spirit Live or Toronto Metropolitan University. Thank you for listening. Just another disclaimer, I want to say that everything I talk about in this podcast is very subjective. I'll be talking about my own opinions and thoughts, and you do not have to agree with me. I encourage you to have your own opinion and not feel attacked if my opinion is different from yours. Thank you and enjoy the show!
I'm like gonna read one more chapter.
That made me feel
why would they break up?
enemies to lovers. Yes, please. Is it seriously 2 a.m.?
They got back together.
I'm literally gonna
Throw my book. Sorry.
You're listening to the Midnight Romantics podcast. Bedtime is optional, right? Hello, readers, and welcome back to the last episode of Season 2 for the Midnight Romantics podcast. I am so happy that you're joining with me. Thank you so much for supporting me again through a second season. It has been a blast producing this show, and I hope you've had some laughs. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you had a good time and found a community of talking about books and about romance books. And yeah, overall, I just hope you enjoy yourself. And my feedback form is still up on my Instagram if you have anything you'd like to comment on, or if there's like episodes you're really dying to see, or if you'd like to be on the show, just please fill out that form just to let me know some things I can improve on and what content you would like to see more of. So with that said, today's episode is just me. I don't have a guest with me, so I hope that's okay with you. It's going to be you and me having a last final chat for season 2. So I thought this video I would do a little bit about book recs, so some of my recommendations. It's been a minute since I've actually read. It's been a while. I don't tend to read a lot during school, so I'm hoping as school's wrapping up this week that I can get back to reading over the summer and then my time off, and hopefully come back to the podcast with like so many amazing books to recommend you guys. But I thought I'd do a few recommendations of some of my favorites, and then also go through some of my TBR, so some of the books I'm hoping to get to over my break. And then maybe go into how I go about choosing a TBR list. What are some of the things I consider? Okay, so I thought it'd be really fun to start this episode off with a BuzzFeed quiz. And so the one that I found is to plan a date for you and your favorite book boyfriend to reveal your next 5-star romance read. So I thought it would be a fun way to maybe give me some inspiration going into my TBR. Because honestly, I was thinking about this episode, I'm like, what is on my TBR? Because I was like, I feel like I just haven't had enough time to just sit down and like actually like, because there's so many books out there now, there's so much content, and so it's really hard to decide like, well, what do I actually want to read? And so usually I like sit down and like there's a process that I go through, but I haven't had the chance to do that quite yet. So I was like, maybe this quiz will be a fun way, and hopefully I won't get a book that I've already read, but a fun way to kind of pick my next read. So obviously, my favorite book boyfriend is Peeta from The Hunger Games. So he's the one that's going to be going on this date with me. So my first option is to choose a location. So we've got hiking in the mountains. We've got a coffee date in an outdoor cafe. A picnic in the park. A sunset boat ride. Horseback riding in a meadow. Rooftop garden. Botanical garden stroll, and beachside bonfire. Okay, that's a lot of options. I was not expecting that many options. Like, I'm too indecisive. I can't choose. So, okay, let's see. I think I'm gonna have to go with the picnic in the park. I love me a good, like, anytime in a book there's like a romantic picnic, or like, I don't know, I feel like picnics are just such a great way to like just get to know someone, because you just get to sit down, it's nice outside, you got some food with you. Like, I feel like it's overall just a good time. And like, I mean, I like the boat ride as well, but like if it's like a boat that I'm controlling, like a canoe or a kayak or something, that's fine. But like if it's like a motor, I have a fear of boats. Like, I'm always so scared that I'm gonna get seasick on a boat, and it's like one of my greatest fears. And so I'm gonna have to say no to that. Beachside bonfire would also be really fun. I love the beach, so that would also probably be. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pick beachside bonfire because I feel like that's more like dramatic. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, it's nighttime and you've got on the beach with a fire. And I feel like that's where like things are confessed, you know? Like, I feel like that's where you really get to know someone. So I'm going to pick beachside bonfire for me and Peeta. Okay, my next question is, how will you ask them out? Oh, so it's on me? Excuse me? I don't do this. I want to be asked out. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so we've got via text message with a flirty emoji, in person with a handwritten invitation. That's really extra. We've got over the phone with a casual conversation, via social media with a creative meme. Ew, no. Asking them out during a shared hobby, through a mutual friend with a fun group activity, serenading them with a song, or surprise invitation with a scavenger hunt. Okay, I feel like some of these are just really dumb. Like a creative meme, like I'm sorry if someone did that, I would like, that's cringy. I would probably, I'm gonna say asking them out during a shared hobby, because I feel like that's when you're bonding the most and you're kind of like building a connection, and they're like, hey, do you want to go on a picnic or go to a beachside campfire with me? Because you're already kind of connecting over this. Serenading with a song, I feel like it has to be the right mood. Like otherwise I feel like it could be so cheesy. And then, I'm sorry, the scavenger hunt's just too much work. If I'm putting that much work into asking you out for the first time, like I don't think so. I don't even know if it's gonna go well. I mean, it's PETA, so obviously it's gonna go well. But I'm gonna pick asking them out during a shared hobby. All right, next question. When will you go out on a date? So the options are a cozy autumn day, a clear starry night, a laid-back spring morning, a festive winter evening, a romantic holiday, a spontaneous weekday evening, a relaxed weekend afternoon, or a warm summer evening. Oh gosh, I'm going with the warm summer evening. I'm sorry, but there is not a more perfect setting than a warm summer evening. Like romantic holiday, no thank you. Like that's just like, that's too expected, you know what I mean? And like winter, hell no, I'm not doing anything in the winter. I feel like as a kid I used to like love winter, and I feel like just as I've gotten older, I've just like started to like almost resent winter a little bit. It just goes on for so long. I feel like it's unnecessary. A cozy autumn day is also nice. Like autumn and summer are like my favorite seasons, I think. But spring has honestly grown on me too. But I have to go with the warm summer evening. There's no better time. That's my favorite time, is a warm summer evening. So we're going with that. And I feel like that fits really well with the beachside campfire as well. All right, what type of music sets the mood for your ideal date? Ooh, we've got R&B, indie, classical, pop, rock, jazz, folk, or country. I'm gonna have to go with indie. I feel like that fits with like the beach evening vibes. And I love me some good indie music. Like indie folk combined I think would be perfect, but I'm going to pick indie. Next is, what unique mode of transportation will you use to get to your date? Okay, so we've got a gondola ride, hot air balloon, paddle boat, motorcycle, no thank you, horse-drawn carriage, bicycle, vintage convertible, or hiking. I'm sorry, but I'm not hiking to get to a date. That's going to make me all sweaty by the time I get there. I think I'm gonna pick the gondola ride, because I've always wanted to go on a gondola ride, like in Italy, like under the canal. Like I feel like that would be more fun than the date itself, I think, is going on that gondola ride. So I'm gonna pick gondola. But I think the if Vespa was an option, I would pick that, because like I really want to ride a Vespa. It's another life goal of mine. So I'm gonna pick gondola ride. Okay. Which spring-themed bouquet would you prefer to receive on your first date? Receive or give on your date. Okay. So we've got cherry blossoms, daffodils, roses, violets, hyacinths, tulips, magnolias, or daisies. That's a good one. They're all really pretty, but I think honestly I'm gonna choose tulips. I feel like it's so beautiful to get a bouquet of tulips, especially like they're always like so colorful. Like orchids are probably one of my favorite, like if not my favorite flower. So I would love to receive like a bouquet of orchids, because I think they're so special. But I'm gonna pick tulips for this. Okay, if you could choose any location in the world for your spring date, where would it be? We've got Tokyo, Rome, Bali, Florence, New York City, Venice, Maui, and Paris. I have to pick. I'm actually torn between the Italian ones. I'm gonna pick Rome. Italy is like my most dream place to travel to, so I'm gonna stick with Rome on this one. All right, 2 questions left. So the next one is, what's your ideal dessert to share with your date on a spring evening? First of all, I wouldn't want to share. I'd want my own. Make that very clear. But we got chocolate-covered strawberries, chocolate cake, key lime pie, tiramisu, cupcakes, s'mores, raspberry cheesecake, or brownies. Oh, these are all good options. I think I'll just go with I'm gonna go with the key lime pie. I love me a good like citrusy dessert. Like all of these I would eat. I feel like strawberries, the chocolate covered strawberries, that's more of like a snack, like intro to dessert. Like I wouldn't want that as like my main dessert, so I'm gonna pick key lime pie. And then the last question, how are you ending the night? So there's sharing a meaningful moment, with a promise for a future date, hugging and saying goodnight, embracing the unknown, leaving with a lingering memory, planning the next date ASAP, exchanging heartfelt goodbyes, or with a sweet kiss. I'm gonna pick leaving with a lingering memory, because then you don't know what direction it's gonna go, and you're like, I'm just gonna leave you with a mysterious impression of myself, and like leave it up to kind of like also embracing the unknown. So I'm gonna pick leaving with a lingering memory. All right, let's see what I've got. Okay, so the book I got was Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. So if you have been reading romance, I'm sure you've heard of this book. It is super popular. There's also, I think it's the first one in like a series of 3, and Lucy Score is a pretty famous author, well-known author in terms of the romance genre. This is a book I've actually been meaning to pick up for a while. I don't know, I just get discouraged because it's like so like chunky for a romance book. So the premise is it's pretty much about this woman named Naomi, and she like was running away from her wedding, and it takes place in Knockmount, Virginia. Like the series is like the Knockmount series kind of thing, and she ends up kind of being taken in by this guy named Knox, who like he's kind of like has a bad boy reputation, I think, and I'm pretty sure that she has a niece with her to take care of, and so it's kind of about like their reluctant romance with each other. So I've been meaning to pick it up for a while because it's been pretty popular, and I've like wanted to see what the hype's about, but it's just one that I've never quite gotten around to. But like this quiz is like inspired me, so I think I'll might move it up to on my list just to see like what all the hype is about, kind of thing, because I'm curious. But with that said, I thought I would get into a little bit more about my TBR that I'm hoping to read with my upcoming time off. In between working a lot, I'm hoping to get some reading done as well. But in terms of my process for choosing a TBR, I'm going to be so for real. I honestly love watching booktube videos on YouTube to get recommendations. Like I watched Haley Pham or Sarah Caroli, or like Destiny, I can't remember her last name, but I love watching those videos because I love when they curate a list for me, and then I can just kind of like go through the video and be like, and then look up. I always like, I'm so impatient, so I always like, they'll pull the book out, I'll pause it, I'll search it up on Goodreads, I'll read about it, and then I'll move on to the next one, kind of thing, because I'm just too impatient. But I think that's like how I love to find out about new books. I don't have TikTok, so I'm not really on Book Talk, like in terms of being on TikTok. I do see some content on Instagram, but mostly I like finding them on YouTube, and I really like getting my recommendations that way. And then I am very picky with what I choose to put on my list, though. It's quite a process, a vetting process that I go through. But some things that I have on my list for over the summer. The first one is Last Night of the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. So this one I've been wanting to read for a while. It came out, I can't remember when, but it came out a while ago, but it's been one on my list, and it's essentially kind of like set in like a lesbian club in like 1954 in Chinatown, and I think it's in New York. And essentially it's kind of like there's the Red Scare, which is like threatening. One of the characters is her father is like a Chinese immigrant, and so there's like deportation being threatened even though he is an American citizen. And it's kind of just about how like it's not safe for them to kind of like be in love with each other. And I love those kinds of stories where there's so many barriers that are like surrounding these two people, but they're overcoming them, and their feelings for each other are just so strong that they're willing to go through hardships in order to come out the other side with each other. I think those are kind of some of my favorite kinds of stories. And so I also think the setting for this one sounds incredibly cool. So yeah, Last Night at the Telegraph Club is definitely one that I'm going to get to. Another one I have on my list is Writers and Lovers by Lily King, and then she also has another one called Heart the Lover, and they're kind of like this one is kind of like Heart the Lover is kind of like a prequel to this book, but it was published second, so I'm wanting to read Writers and Lovers first. And in terms of its synopsis, it's kind of like blindsided by her mother's sudden death and wrecked by a recent love affair, Casey Peabody has arrived in Massachusetts in the summer of 1997. I love books set in like the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. Love those kinds of settings. So she's there without a plan. Her mail consists of wedding invitations and final notices from debt collectors. A former child golf prodigy, she now waits tables in Harvard Square and rents a tiny moldy room at the side of a garage where she works on the novel she's been writing for 6 years. At 31, Casey is still clutching onto something nearly all her friends have to let go, the determination to live creative life. When she falls for two very different men at the same time, her world fractures even more. Casey's fight to fulfill her creative ambitions and balance the conflicting demands of art and life is challenged in ways that push her to the brink. So I just think this one sounds really interesting. I love me a good love triangle in the summer, especially. I just love the drama. And in the summertime, I'm all for the drama in the books. So I'm really excited for that. And I also think her being a creative is very relatable to me, and something I'll probably and am encountering is just how to balance being a creative with everything else, because I think sometimes people are like, oh, like you're like pursuing a creative career, and they kind of can look down upon that. And I think this book will kind of explore that and those like expectations from other people, and then also have like a romance. I think it's more of like a literary fiction romance, which I adore those, and I'm hoping to read more of those this summer. So that is one. And then Heart the Lover is her prequel, which is another one I'm hoping to get to. Another one I have on my list is The Alchemy of Secrets. So this is Stephanie Garber's kind of like adult book, and I've read Caraval and I really enjoyed it. I like her writing style, and so this one, so from what I'm getting from it, there's like magic, there's kind of like a school kind of aspect going on, and alchemy I think is just really cool as a concept. And I also am looking to kind of like read more kind of like fantastical magical books. I feel like I don't read them enough, and I want to kind of like delve into them a little bit more and kind of like widen my palette a bit. And so that is one that I'm definitely hoping to get to soon. Another one I have on my list is Pride and Prejudice, which I'll probably be putting this on my TBR for like the next 10 years until I actually finish it or read it. I started it but did not get very far. For me, I find it hard to get into the writing of the classics, but I feel like in order to call myself a true literature reader, I need to read a classic book. If you've read a classic and have any tips on how to approach reading a classic, I'd love to hear about them. But definitely one that I am hoping to get to. So now I wanted to move on to giving some recommendations. So a lot of these books, some of them I've read more recently, some of them are quite old, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about them before. So that's why I'm hoping after the summer I'll have some more books to share with you guys. One I read recently over the break, which I posted about, was The Favorites. So this one's by Lane Fargo, and it's essentially about two figure skaters who have kind of known each other since childhood. They've skated together since childhood, and they've kind of have like a friends to lovers relationship, but it turns toxic. It's like there's so much drama, and their desires with the sport clashing with one another, and there's kind of almost an enemies to lovers aspect to it as well, which I was not expecting and I loved. And so yeah, if you really like kind of like tumultuous relationships that have really high highs and really low lows, if you love a lot of drama, if you're If you like sports romance, I think you'll like this one as well. So that's the first one I recommend. The second one I have on here is The 7-Year Slip, which I also read over the winter break. So this one's just kind of, it's about this girl, and she moves into the apartment of her aunt who recently passed away. And then she's just in the apartment, and then this guy is just there. And he's essentially from the past. He's from 7 years ago. So the apartment has this magical thing where it can slip in between time. And so he's from 7 years ago, and she's from the present. And so it's kind of follows them kind of connecting and meeting each other. And it's just, honestly, it's a really cute, it's really sweet book. It's a closed door book, so there's not really any spice to it, which if that's something you're looking for, then I would definitely recommend that one. This one is just like really, like, in terms of like a Pinterest board, I think of like really sunny visuals, like a lot of, like, he's a chef, so a lot of like cooking, and like I picture those like old cluttered apartments with like brick walls and as like an accent wall, and that's what I think about with this one. So if you're into that, I would totally recommend The 7-Year Slip. In terms of tropes, wrong place, right time, one of those ones. So if you're into that kind of trope and kind of like missing each other, I would recommend that one. Another one I have on here is, I love Madeline Miller's books, as you know, Song of Achilles, Circe. If you haven't read those already, if you're into Greek mythology, if you like epic love stories, more so Song of Achilles rather than Circe. But both of them are written beautifully, and I think you can get a lot out of both books, so I would highly recommend those ones. One that I read last year that I really liked it's not a romance book, but it's like a literary fiction. It's Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. She also wrote Babel. This one's really interesting. It's kind of about appropriation in publishing and writing, and it delves into a lot of important themes about like authorship and race and racism and who's allowed to tell what stories. And I found it to be really interesting. Like, the main character, you absolutely despise her, but you're just so, like, you just want to see what happens. And like she just keeps spiraling deeper and deeper into the hole she dug herself, and it's so satisfying to see her downfall because you're not rooting for her. And I think I don't read enough books with like morally gray or like kind of like almost like antagonist protagonists, and I think those kinds of stories are so interesting because how they flip the script and flip the narrative. So I would definitely recommend reading that one as well. And then one I read like a couple summers ago, it's like a fantasy. It's kind of more of like a YA fantasy, but I really enjoyed it. It's called Serpent and Dove, and it's a series, but it's about witches. I'm trying to remember because I read it so long ago, but it's mostly about witches, and there's like a magic system, and there's like witch hunters, and it's kind of like follows a romance between, I think, like a witch and a witch hunter, which I thought was really interesting. And it is more YA, so if you're still into reading YA, I find myself kind of like growing out of YA more and more, which makes me sad because there was a time where I was like, I'm never not gonna read YA, but I feel like I'm growing into reading more like new adult literary fiction kind of romances. But if you are still into young adult, I would recommend that one for sure. And then last is like one of my favorites, is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. And that one's just like, if you love Friends to Lovers, if you love lakeside summer romances, like you guys know, I love me a good lake book. So if you're into that, if you're into kind of like Second Chance, it's told in the past and present between those two timelines. So if those sounds like things you're interested in, then I would definitely recommend checking out that one. But I would love to hear more about what you guys are hoping to read this summer. I'm hoping we can all just relax, and maybe if you have a cottage, or if you can go to like the lake or the beach, bring a good book with you and just chill because you deserve it. I know you've been working so hard all year, and we all have been, so it's really nice to just have some time to focus on reading again, because I feel like it's something we can kind of get disconnected from during our busy lives, but I think it's something important to prioritize because you get to go on so many adventures and you get to learn so many new things, and I think it's really special to go on the journey of a story. So I hope you guys can reconnect with reading over your break. With that said, I would like to thank you once again so much for supporting the Midnight Romantics. I had so much fun making season 2, and it's probably going to be a bit of a break, but I'm hoping to come back with some more content for you. I'll try to be posting what I'm reading over the summer so you guys can stay updated, and hopefully I can give you some recommendations. But once again, thank you so much for listening, and as always, bedtime is optional. So finish your last chapter. I'll see you guys soon. Bye!